Whoa, I lost the sound. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. My blocking is all off with the new mic setup. I can't figure it out. But I am joined once again by Finger Lakes One's own very own producer, Paul Russo. How are you today, sir?
Good, John. How are you?
I am doing swelligant. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to have an interesting show. We're going to talk about some comments made by a Sportsbook CEO, which were a little on the ridiculous side, or I said silly, I think, in my write-up. It's been, a lot of people have talked about it, so I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on it. And then we're going to talk about hedging futures bets. And do you have any big futures bets?
Nothing, I guess, major outside of maybe, I know we talked a little bit off air before the start here about my Max Verstappen bet going into this weekend, but no, nothing major yet. I think I might have missed the boat to a degree on that, but for at least on the NFL side of things.
Well, you never know. I mean, there's so many teams that are still in the playoff. They say in the hunt, but
right.
On the Rich Eisen show, they say they're sniffing it.
Exactly.
They're sniffing it.
I mean, it's never too late, I suppose, but
I think there's always value. It's take what the sports book gives you. So before we do any of that, let's do what we always do, and I'm going to start by updating my bankroll. And I got some games to talk about here. So last week, we had a starting bankroll of $236. We took the Colts minus 9.5. That game closed at either 10 or 10.5, depending where you live or where you bet. And that was an easy win for us. I think it was 31-0 was the final.
Yeah.
Plus $8 to the bankroll, and we're going to give ourselves a +1 because we beat the closing line. And then we had the name redacted versus the Las Vegas Raiders under 49, and that was a pretty easy sweat for the viewership. Also a winner, plus $7 to the bankroll. The closing line, I believe, was 48, so we beat it by a full point.
Yep.
And another +1, and then which far and away to me was the most interesting game of the weekend is in the CFL, and I'm wearing my Grey Cup, my CFL hat today in honor of the Grey Cup this weekend. So the Toronto Argonauts was hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Argos Friday morning were minus 115. By the time I got to the sports book to bet it, they were plus 115 because some of the Argo players were invited to a Raptors game because they're owned by the same ownership. Mm-hmm. And they violated the league COVID protocol. So they were all going to be ruled out. But the commissioner ruled that if they could pass 4 consecutive negative tests, that they could play on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So the line went from minus 115 to plus 115 back to minus 115. So
what a roller coaster.
It was a roller coaster of a weekend. And they were winning 12-0 at halftime. They had 2 drives that were, of course, in Canadian football, you only have 3 downs. Mm-hmm. They were 3rd and 2 from the 2-yard line. And both times they decided to kick a field goal instead of go for the touchdown. Ended up losing by 8.
Oof.
It was Hamilton changed quarterbacks at halftime, and their backup quarterback had a really good game. So the Grey Cup is going to be Hamilton and Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, minus $8 on that wager. I'm going to give myself a 0 because it closed right where I bought it. So new bankroll, $243, dividing by 30 as we like to do. Makes the bet size $8 going forward. And our new count, we added 2 to the count, so we're up to plus 16. And, of course, if the number is a positive number, that means more often than not you're beating the closing line and you're finding value in your wagers. So good start to this month, I guess. And before we get into any of the games, let's go right on to the CEO comments by the Draftkings CEO. I didn't want to name him specifically in the title of the YouTube video, but Jason Robins, who's the Draftkings CEO, was recently interviewed on CNBC, and in that interview, he said the quiet part out loud. He said, "We do not want profitable bettors as customers," and that drew a lot of blowback. So, what do you make of that original comment?
Yeah. So, I'll go off the bat here for a moment of devil's advocacy here. Obviously, the CEO is going to say something like that because, one, he doesn't want to lose money himself or any of the shareholder money, obviously, from the business side of things. That being said, DraftKings' goal is to become the major sport book in the United States, the biggest, the largest. That's not how you're going to get customers to come to your book, to whether it's online or whether in I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here.
Right. It's obviously the European model of sports books. They have their retail shops and they have their online apps.
Thank you.
In Europe.
Yeah.
And they are geared towards recreational bettors, punters, as they like to call them over there, that do not have profit motive in mind. And they want to win, but they don't originate. I'm using technical terms. They're not bottom-up handicappers or top-down handicappers. They're just people that want to have action on the games.
Right.
And we've talked about this many times. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a sweat. I will argue to the end of the earth that it's cheaper to put $10 on a football game. You'll get more value for your money in entertainment than going to a movie or a $10 scratch off because it's gone in 30 seconds.
Right.
And whether or not you have a chance to win, but whether or not you win is not the point. It's spending that money to have that action and to have that excitement. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. This show, we try to take it from. We try to do intelligent sports talk here, and we try to talk about betting as a profit, with a profit motive, with trying to make money. And there are advantages and disadvantages to having. Well, fortunately for us, it's a huge advantage to having a casino right down the street,
Right.
Which allows us to go there and bet somewhat anonymously. As opposed to betting on your phone where they know your name, they know your social security number, they know what operating system you use and what Wi-Fi network you're logged into. And it's a different ball game there. So the common belief amongst the large gaming companies is that the recreational bettors are the most profitable sector. However, one of the other podcasters came out with a very good point is that the bookmaker, the bookmaker bettor relationship is not exactly a true marketplace.
Right.
They set the line and we bet the line. His take was that the bookmaker is not entitled to know the reason why I want to place my bet. Whether it's to make a profit or to hedge a bet or to just have action on the game. They set the line, I buy the ticket, and that's our transaction.
Right.
So I get that, and I think because the United States is going to be the largest sports betting, I mean, it's always been the largest sports betting market, but it's going to become, once it's fully legalized across all 50 states, the largest, regulated sports betting market in the world. The players are going to become much more sophisticated over time. Right. And they can't just limit everybody to $10 wagers. I mean, it's just not a viable option. So let me put this back up and let's see here. There we go. So he followed up his comments with another interview on VSIN, which is the Vegas Sports Information Network, which was actually recently purchased by DraftKings in the last year. So it was definitely going to be a friendly fire type of situation. So there he qualified his previous comments by stating only Billy Walters types were not welcome because they manipulated the ecosystem. And I don't know if you are familiar with who Billy Walters is.
I admittedly am not.
Okay, so Billy Walters was recently he's out of jail, but he got sent to jail on a stock trading crime involving Phil Mickelson, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
So, but before that, all the way back in the 80s, he was the first sports bettor to use computer models on the betting side, not on the sportsbook side, but on the betting side. And he had a very sophisticated system of runners that would run bets. And he's known for what's called the fake in sports betting, where he would put a lot of money, say on Thursday, he would put a lot of money, if it's Washington-Dallas, he'd put a lot of money on Washington and have the line move in one direction, and then he'd put his real money on Dallas on Saturday when the line was moved. So he would be, quote unquote, manipulating the ecosystem. So once again, these comments are at best, I think, tone deaf.
Yeah.
And most of us, 99.99% of us, including the two people in this room, cannot manipulate the ecosystem. No. So that's not even an issue. But they don't take limits. Like, they don't take large enough bets for anybody to do that.
Right. And I think to a degree too, at least in my mind, even if you're like one of the super like hyper casual bettors where it's just like you're out there, oh, I see my favorite team's playing, I'll just throw I don't know, something like $5 or whatever, right? At least for me personally speaking, like if I'm going to put money into something, whether it is just say a sports bet or a hand of blackjack or anything, right? Like I'm going in there planning not to, I guess, lose my money. That's not my plan no matter what. Yeah. So I think that's where I think for me personally, I kind of get upset with his comments to a degree, just in the grand scheme of things. Is just like, if that's all you see us as, fine. Like I'll give my money in theory to somebody where they will give me that feeling of like, come here, we want,
you're welcome here.
Yeah, exactly. We want you.
So there is one sports book that's not available on the East Coast right now called Circa.
Yep.
And they're available in Nevada and Colorado and Iowa. And they post their lines and they post the limits for each game. And they don't care who you are. They're like, these are the limits we take. These are the bet sizes we take, the maximum bet sizes. Come and bet them. And I would love for them to come on to the East Coast. I don't know, it could be years. But so there are business models out there that do not. I think what's lost in the shuffle here is that DraftKings, in a way, is trying to become too big to fail.
Right.
What I mean by that is they bought VSIN. They've bought some other media and data companies, and they produce all this content around sports betting, and they've built all these professional relationships with all these different sports and professional sports teams and whatnot. And they just want to have their fingers in so many pies that something will always be making money for them. They're into NFTs now, which I don't participate in.
Yeah, I don't either.
But my point being is they're trying to diversify the revenue streams, but if this is what they want to be known for, they really need to take a better approach.
Right.
And I think they got slammed enough, so we'll let it go at this point. But, so let's move on to what I really wanted to talk about today, and that is hedging futures. So the purpose behind hedging a futures bet is to extract the value of a yet unrealized gain. So I have two live examples that we're going to talk about today. But if you have a ticket on who's going to win the national championship in college football, or who's going to win the Formula One World Championship or who's going to win the MLS Cup tomorrow, you have the ticket, it's live. The ticket's not dead, but it's an unrealized gain because you haven't won yet. So what if you don't want to take the risk of letting it ride? You hedge it so you can extract some value out of the ticket. So there are several methods to hedge your bet, depending on what type of wagers your sportsbook offers. And when we do the college football example, I'll talk about that a little bit. And you can also let it ride on a future, and this is a high risk, high reward. I've mentioned on the show several times I had the Packers and the Bills last year, and they both made the conference championships. And I said, one of them's going to make it. One of them's going to make it. And I let it ride, and I got squadoosh. So, all right, so hedging example. So we're going to do this first example. Can you see the numbers? Can you read this?
Yep, I got it.
So, so here's the MLS Cup, which is tomorrow. It is the Portland Timbers versus New York City Football Club for the MLS Championship. So I have a live ticket on New York City at plus 775. So that's $10 to win $77.50 and collect $87.50. And then I have a dead ticket on Salt Lake City at plus 750, which is I wagered $10.34 to win $77.50 and to collect $87.84. So my total invested in all the futures is $20.34. So therefore, my remaining profit that is left in my live ticket is $87.50 minus the $20.34 I spent on the tickets equals $67.16. So that is, if my ticket wins and I just let it ride, that's what I stand to make. So I'm either going to lose $20 or I'm going to gain $67.16. So if you look at the odds at the Sportsbook right now, the current odds for either team to win the championship it's even. And on the game itself, actually, New York City is a slight favorite over Portland. The game is in Portland. So if I bet $33, if you take that $67.16 and you divide it by 2, that's $33.58. So if I bet $33.58 on Portland, that would guarantee a profit of $30.56 on a Portland win, or a profit of $33.58 on a New York City win. So if I bet on Portland to win this game, I can hedge my profit and basically split the remaining profit that's left in that ticket by, hedging the bet. Or I can let it ride. And on this particular example, I'm leaning towards just letting it ride. I feel like it's a almost 8-to-1 ticket. It's not a huge value ticket, but NYC was the best in the league in expected goals. Like they seem to be, they're the team that when they are in good situations, they seem to find a way to put the ball in the net. Portland, on the other hand, is a much hotter team. They've won like 6 games in a row, and they're playing at home. And it's I don't know which way it could go, but it's not a bank breaker of a decision. Really. I mean, this is something that it's not a lot of money, so I'm kind of like, I'll just, I think I'm just going to let it ride, and we'll see what happens. So that game is tomorrow evening. And let's move on to this other example. Example number 2. And this is the college football playoff. And this is a little more complicated. And there's no real right or wrong method or decision to be made here, unless your goal is to lock in profit no matter what, even if it's only $5 worth of profit. There's obviously a decision to be made if you decide that. But it's kind of like how much risk versus how much reward, and there's different ways to approach it. So right now I have live tickets on Cincinnati. I wagered $10 at 100 to 1 to win 1,000, collect $10.10. I have a live ticket on Michigan, $10 to win 1,000, collect 10-10. I have dead soldiers on the University of Washington, Iowa, Notre Dame, USC, Wisconsin, and 2.5 on BYU at 400 to 1. So I had total invested, if you add all those tickets together, I've invested $7,250 in futures tickets. So my remaining profit is $10.10 minus the $7,250, which is $930. I put extra dollars in there. $937.50. So I have $937.50 in remaining value on on those live tickets. That's a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a substantial incentive to want to hedge here. So if you look at the current futures, because I have of the 4 teams that are left, I have 2 of them live. So the only 2 futures that matter to me are Bama at plus 120 and Georgia at plus 140. And then if you want to bet on the semifinal games and hedge that way, you can see Bama's minus 550 and Georgia's minus 335. So obviously it's a much better value to bet the future and hedge with the future because it's going to cost you less money to hedge.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be basically, if you took Bama at plus 120, you would be betting probably about $450, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm doing the math in my head, so don't quote me if I'm not exactly right. But approximately $450 to win about $500. And that would guarantee you either Bama or Cincinnati in the championship game, and that would, if Michigan made it, you would be guaranteed a profit. But you would have about $525 invested, somewhere in that $522 to win 1,010. So that would cut your profit. The value of the remaining profit, it would cut that in half, but the likelihood of you collecting the profit is just way, 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 way higher. And I think we won't talk too much more about this, but I think that when it comes to futures, it's my mantra is always taking what the sportsbook gives you, and it's something that you can look at them once a week, and you don't need to be, sitting in front of your computer screen all day. Like if you're looking for a line to move on a game, you don't need to do that. You can just go once a week, or if I go by the casino every Friday and I decide I want to pop in and see what the futures are on, the NFL or the baseball. Like, I'm not even sure if they have next year's baseball futures up yet or not.
Well, I'm guessing they don't yet still.
Well, because of the lockout.
Yeah, I was about to say with the limbo going on there, but.
Well, yeah, there's. I think futures at high odds. A lot of professional sports bettors have the opinion that futures are not a good investment because you have to tie up your money for a few months. But if you're betting something at 100 to 1, I don't really think you're betting a bargain pizza on somebody to win the championship, and I don't think that's a real sacrifice for 5 months.
No.
It's not like you're, in order to put, if you're going to make a if you're going to bet a team at 100 to 1 and you're going to put, 1,000 to win 100,000, that's a different story. They might not take the bet. But, if you're putting 20 to win 2,000 or 50 to win 5,000, they'll take the bet. That's not a big deal.
Right.
It's still not a lot of money.
No.
But I think that you can't, it's not the same every year. Some years it works out really well, and other years it doesn't. I find that futures you don't need to be a math genius. You just need to say, hey, that number's higher than it should be. Right. And just go for it. So
I bring up a good point, too. Look at college football this year. Ended up being a little bit more wide open than we thought. Look at your Michigan bet. If you were to ask me back in the beginning of September, I might have chuckled a little bit hearing a future bet on Michigan for the national title, but here they are in the Final Four. So
I really was high on Wisconsin. and they're very high rated in the power rankings,
Right.
not in the polls. But they were one of the teams that wasn't playing Ohio State.
Right.
But they did have a killer schedule. They played Notre Dame, they played Penn State, they played Iowa, Michigan. It was a really tough schedule, and I didn't. Teams I missed out on: Oklahoma State, Michigan State. Those teams were available at well over 100 to 1,
Right.
4 or 5 weeks into the season, and it's just something that you have to remind yourself to do.
Yeah.
Just go once a week. Say Monday's my futures day. I'm going to check the futures. Right now they have futures on the Kentucky Derby. They have about 200 horses that you can bet on, and a lot of them are well over 100 to 1. And even if you're just throwing $5 on them, obviously there's only going to be 20 horses that make the race. But this is the time of year to do it. January is the time of year to do it. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to somebody. I'm going to hedge my futures probably. I haven't decided when I'm going to pull the trigger, but it's going to have to happen. It's just for me, it's too much money on the table for me to let go. All right, NFL Week 14. Let's start with your favorite team, the the Koi Boys at the Washington football team. Plus 4.5, 47.5. I have it at plus 2 even and 46.52. I really like the Washington team in this game. Number one, because it's at FedEx Field and their field is horrible, and the Cowboys seem to not do that well in 1 o'clock games. I don't know what it is, but Washington, of course, is playing well, and my model says they're getting 2.5 more points than they should. I might, if I had it was more accessible to the Sportsbook, if I lived a little bit closer, I might wait to see if it, because once it goes to 4.5, it doesn't take much at all to move it from 4.5 to 5.5.
Right.
Moving it to 6 is there would have to be a major injury on the Washington side to move it to 6. But the Cowboys have not. There aren't too many teams they just destroyed that were quality opponents.
Yeah.
And Washington with a win here can really kind of get firm footing on a playoff spot.
Yep. And they banged the drum on the run game again this past weekend against the Raiders.
Yeah,
so.
we're not getting a great number on the total.
Right.
47.5. I still like the under, but I would rather take the side here, I think.
Yep.
So Jaguars at Titans. Titans -8, 43.5. I have them at 12.7, 45.32. So model likes the over here. Model really likes the Titans. I think I would be more inclined to bet the over because Jacksonville, some weeks they decide they want to be competitive, and other weeks they just kind of mail it in. I don't know what they're going to get here, but I think if Titans have their complement of receivers.
Yeah. I was going to say, it seems like Julio's kind of tracking possibly to be available Sunday, but I don't trust that to happen because of obvious Julio Jones history.
Seahawks at Texans, plus 8.5, 41. I have it at plus 8 and 38.94. So my model likes Russ to not cook and likes the under. I don't know. Obviously, I think the Seahawks win this game. I don't really know much about the spread here. They just have not been able to throw up a dominant performance. The Seahawks, even in a game they should win. I find it. They won by 7 last week, I think. Yeah. I think. I could be reading the tea leaves a little bit wrong, but I think maybe the line has a lot to do with the Texans are going to be starting Davis Mills. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm reading too deep into that one, because I'm with you. It's not like the Seahawks are this overpowering giant like they have been in any way, shape, or form. This game doesn't make my spidey sense to put it that way, but. Unless Adrian Peterson decides to become 10 years ago, Adrian Peterson. Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs at home again. Minus 9.5, 48. Minus 11.72, 47-14. Did you see that interception in the last Chiefs game where the guy took the football like this?
Yeah.
How is that not taunting?
I don't know.
I was like, that should be taunting. I'm not saying take the touchdown away from him. I'm just saying.
Is the taunting rule the new catch rule where we don't know what the hell's going on? And
I don't know. I don't know, but I have seen players, Deshaun Jackson specifically called for taunting for running backwards into the end zone.
Right. I think there was another play last week. I can't remember which game where like they high-fived each other going up the sideline and they got called on that, and it's just I don't even know if the refs know what they're doing with the taunting calls at this point.
Well, I got to say that I do like the Chiefs in this game.
Yeah,
the model says 11.72. The total's right on. I don't think the Raiders can really stop the Chiefs. It would be interesting to see if they can get some turnovers, some interceptions. Mahomes had another pick last week, at least one. And it was a deflection, but he's kind of come to earth as a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's still a very good quarterback,
right?
But the $500 million man. Saints at the Jets, plus 5.5, 42.5. I have it at plus 3.97, 45.33. So my model says to take the points with the Zach Wilson experience, and the model likes the over, and that assumes that Taysom Hill is healthy enough to throw the ball,
right?
Which is a big question mark.
I know. I said it, Tuesday with Nick on my podcast. Like this game, something triggered me to this. Like I kind of like the Jets in this game in a weird way. Kind of like you talk about the Zach Wilson experience. For me, it's the Taysom Hill experience, which I have hated pretty much from the jump from a football standpoint of things. But
this is a must-win game for the Saints if they want to make the playoffs. I mean, they really can't afford to lose another one in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, speaking of which, another play-in game, if you will, Falcons at Panthers.
Yep.
Minus 2.5, 41.5. Minus 3.57, 41.72. So the total's right on. The model likes the Panthers at minus 2.5. So Cam is washed as a passing quarterback.
Right.
As a passing quarterback.
Yeah.
So that is definitely is why the total is where it is. And it'd be interesting to see if the Falcons can get anything going. I don't anticipate it to be a horrible weather game, so I don't really have. I mean, I would take the Panthers, I guess, but other than that, I don't have a play on the total.
Yeah, it's a strange game. I think the Panthers are weirdly going to be relying on Amir Abdullah as their main running back the way it sounds this week, which if you remember him from a couple years ago. But something about this game, talk about your spidey senses. This is a bit of a stinker for me. I don't know if I really want to go near it to really any, I guess, degree personally. So
both of these teams, the Falcons and the Panthers, like one of them might have a dominating performance. But when they level up to a higher level of competition, it just peter out again. Yeah. So, okay, the Ravens at the Browns, the AFC North title that nobody wants. Browns minus 3, 42.5. I actually have this game as a coin flip, 0.015 and then 41.6. So I really don't know what the weather's going to be like in Cleveland. But they are. I think the Browns are coming off a bye.
Yes, Browns are coming off the bye.
So that's definitely why they're favored. And the Ravens didn't look great last week, losing to Pittsburgh. But that game is always, that division game is always a 3-point game.
Right.
So I don't know what to make of it. But I do know that if it is a 3-point game, I think I would rather be on the Ravens side just because of the kicking game.
Right.
So let's see what else we got on the NFL schedule. Giants at Chargers, minus 9.5, 43. Okay, so it's Jake from State Farm going to start for the Giants, which is actually his real Twitter handle. Jake from State Farm. So my model says, whoa. Even at replacement level, the Giants are only 6-point 6.8 point dogs to the Chargers here. So the model really likes taking the Giants and the points. I think if it went to 10, I would be on that. But at 9.5, I don't like it. 43, the totals are really low this week. It's really surprising to me. Like some of these I think are going to blow way over. But there's nothing in my numbers that really, I had on Thursday, I had the over 44 in the Vikings game, and that came through for me. But the rest of these games, they don't really have anything like that. Lions at the Broncos. Broncos laying 10 at home, 42.5. I have them at 9-point favorites, 41.3. I don't know. The Broncos laying 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't like this game at all, but I just.
I mean, maybe it's just Dan Campbell running through me and getting me hyped up, but I mean, like, if you're giving me an opportunity to take the Lions with getting 10 points in this, I mean it.
How many games have the Lions? Lost by more than 10?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with that. They tend to be kind of in it. In a weird way, I mean, whether it's through their own dumb stupidity sometimes or the other teams, they tend to kind of just be there at the end of the game.
It seems to me since before Thanksgiving, it's been like a one-score game every week. So I don't know, but that one just makes me scratch my head. 49ers at Bengals. I think this one has a lot of action on it. Bengals getting are 2-point dogs at home. 49 is the total. And I have them as 2-point dogs and 48.71. So my model and the market are like right in sync, which makes me immediately say stay away from this game. This game is very important to my Bengals future. I have a Bengals future to win the AFC North at like plus 975 or something like that. So I would really like them to win here, but to otherwise bet on this game, I think, is a no-no. The 49ers are healthy, and they they seem to be playing better, but Jimmy G may have one of his regression games.
Right.
He always seems to have.
And, talk about health, too. I mean, Burrow's finger injury. Sounds like he also has, like, a knee injury. Sounds like he's going to play, but, obviously look at the second half of that game last week. Certainly was a different thrower, really, compared to the first half before the dislocation of that pinky. So yeah.
Bills at the Buccaneers. Bucks minus 3.5. 54 is the total. I have the Buccaneers as almost 5.5-point favorites, and we have the total at 52.28. So it likes the under. I think if this gets up to 55, I think I might go under. I feel like the Bucks will have to run more than they want to beat the Bills, which means that the score will go under.
Right. And, talk about another team that's pretty much kind of like in a must-win-ish scenario with the Bills as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if you're, the Bucks, I'm with you. I think, they probably don't really want to run the ball as much as they're going to, but I mean, it's hard to look back at what happened Monday night and kind of be like, well, maybe why not do that base block?
They do have, 3 legit running backs, in my opinion, in Tampa Bay. They're just Fournette has become kind of like the feature back,
right?
But the other 2 guys have been in the rotation, and I feel like we could talk about that Patriots game a lot, but they got talk about letting the quarterback cook. You got to let Josh Allen cook and do his thing and accept that there's going to be some turnovers.
Right.
But he'll move the ball down the field and until they find a solution to the running game. I don't know if it means more linemen or better running backs, maybe both. Bears at the Packers on Sunday night. Minus 12.5, 43, minus 13, 41.95. So it leans towards the under. I have no idea what the weather's going to be like at Lambeau, but
I'll assume cold.
Yeah, cold. That has never really stopped.
No.
The Packers from scoring points. It has to be white out, like
Right.
6 to 8 inches on the ground in order for it to really stop
Mm-hmm.
the scoring. So I feel like this, again, a rivalry game. It's a lot of points, 13 points, but this could easily be 31-6 in my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to put any money on it. And then this game is very interesting to me. Rams at the Cardinals. Cardinals minus 2.5, 51.
Mm-hmm.
I have them as 4.4 favorites and 49.09. So you got Matt Stafford, who's been on the injured side of the ledger, so to speak, for the last few weeks. Going to the Cardinals that have Kyler Murray back now. I do like the under here. I feel like this is a tough defense for Arizona to play. And the Rams are definitely going to want to keep this game lower scoring. And I think under 51 is very doable. If this goes up a point, 51's kind of a key number. So if it goes up to 52 or 52.5, I'd really be on the under here. That's, I think, one of the stronger plays of the week. I'm not really sure. I mean, Cardinals can basically, for all intents and purposes, can lock up the division with a win in this game.
They are the only team going into the week. Excuse me. I think there's only three teams that can even clinch any playoff spot this week, and for the Cardinals, they're the only team where it is a win and in scenario this week.
So yeah, there's so many like 7-5, and 6-6, and 5-7 teams that it's just crazy. There's no, I mean, we're not going to know till well into January what we're looking at, which is why, again, going back to the futures, is why I think that it's so important that you check those out and look for value. So let's wrap it up with my picks, and then we can go on our merry way. So I am taking the Washington football team.
Great pick.
Plus 4.5 points, minus 110. And then I am also going to go Monday night under 51 with the Rams and the Cardinals. And then for the 108th Grey Cup 2021 in Hamilton, Ontario at Tim Hortons Stadium, I am going to take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers minus 3, minus 105. The Blue Bombers only lost once during the regular season. They had a historic defense. For the first 10, they had a 14-game season this year. They usually play an 18-game season.
Yeah.
The first 10 games of the season, they did not allow a point in the fourth quarter to anybody.
I think that's what we'd call a pretty good defense.
So they did allow. They had a game where they allowed a field goal in the fourth. They've averaged. They did allow a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So I think their average scoring defense in the fourth quarter ended up being like 2.2 points or something for the season. But the game, it's Winnipeg versus Hamilton. The game's in Hamilton. Hamilton was 8-6 on the regular season, and Winnipeg was 13-1. Both teams have horrible kickers. If this game is close, it can Winnipeg could lose it easily. As a matter of fact, Hamilton in the semifinal, in the Eastern Final, they missed their first field goal, and the coach never tried another kick. The rest of the game, he went for 2 on every touchdown, and he didn't try a field goal the rest of the game.
Sheesh.
So, but yeah, I think that this is probably. I haven't had a great season in the CFL, but this is probably the pick that I am most hyped about in in probably a couple months. I mean, I'm very excited about the MLS Cup tomorrow, but on Sunday at 6:30, when you're watching the Giants get the crap kicked out of them, you can switch over to ESPN2 and watch the Grey Cup on ESPN2. So, well, that's going to do it. So let's play some outro music, and we'll get some winners. Thanks, everybody. Let's get that outro music going. There we go. Take care. We'll see you next time.